And it's Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVets Media. We cover cadets, midshipmen, the military, and veterans proudly since 2008. And big win for Army football on Saturday, 23-3 over Air Force in Denver, a game that they were a 17-point underdog. Offense just played super, especially in the first half. Bryson Daly getting the first drive done with a 62-yard run, and then the defense stopping a fourth and one at the Air Force 35, setting up the first of Quinn Merensky's 3 field goals in the first half, and then another touchdown just after that. And Army's got a 23-3 lead, which they held, and they now have a chance to play for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy against Navy in December. So glad to have with us our team, Jack McGuirk calling in from Pelham. And Jack, thank you. And Steve Shalou, who from the class of 92 and South Jersey, was also at the game in Denver. Steve, good to see you. What was your thoughts about Army just changing its whole ability and playing so well after 5 long weeks?
Yeah, no, I had the privilege to be able to attend the ball game. Beautiful day in Denver, great venue at Mile High, and great tailgate. And my expectations going into the game, albeit hopeful, was not as high as it has been in the past. I mean, the Air Force team has been showing that they are a team to reckon with, and we went in there and we had to play our best game. And the old adage of, turnovers make a difference in a ball game played true. And this time it wasn't against the Black Knights, it was actually against them. And we had an inspired effort from the team. Lowen played out of his body, out of his mind. He was putting his head on the ball and making things happen, and showed the level of talent. I mean, I think the last time he played like that was against Navy last year, where he was just around the ball all the time with reckless abandon. Offensively, we attacked. We ran the quarterback a ton, and we stayed on blocks, and we did some really, really good things. The first half was great, and then we had enough to hang on in the second half. And I thought it was pretty key with some of the stops that we had, because I was really worried about Air Force if they scored their first touchdown, that would start momentum and it would break the seal, and it would start momentum where we had difficult last year scoring, we had difficult the year before scoring in the second half, and that those demons may come back and haunt us, but we never let them get momentum, and we came out victorious. So all around, great team win. Super proud. I'm a little melancholy about what this team could have been, but we pick up from today and move forward, and very excited to see us play Holy Cross.
Yeah. Jack, what was your impressions of the game?
It was stunning. Going into the game, I didn't really have high hopes for Army. Air Force, undefeated, nationally ranked team, best rushing team in the country, and yet the Army defense was able to hold Air Force to 155 yards rushing total for the game, which is pretty impressive. Also, the Army defense forced 6 turnovers in the game. Bryson Daly rushed for 170 yards in a great game for him. And there were some other stats kind of jumped out at me. One of them, Jabari Moore, the senior defensive back, he's now played in 55 games, which he now has the record for the most games played in Army football history, passing Greg McClasker's mark of 54 games played from 1973 to 77.
How did the guy play that many games in 73, 74?
Yeah. But just a great game for Army. One kind of a negative thing about it was the penalties. Army had 11 penalties in the game, Air Force 6. These are actually the 2 least penalized teams in the country. So a little bit of a tough game for Army in that respect, but it was overall a fantastic game for Army. And they had no problem with Air Force's triple option offense, although I guess Air Force had some trouble with Army's offense a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say so. The stat that jumped out at me, guys, was and I mentioned this to Coach Munkin today, was the passing of Zach Larrier, the quarterback for Air Force, 9 of 22 with 2 interceptions and 2 sacks, 93 yards. And he ran 20 times. He ran half of Air Force's plays and had a net 45 yards. And I thought he missed at least 2 wide open receivers that could have been touchdown plays, overthrew, underthrew. And he seemed to be missing receivers even on sideline routes where the receivers were having to stretch to get balls and not being able to complete a number of those passes. Steve, did you think that was the Army defense just unsettling him, rushing his throws?
Yeah, I think there was a ton of pressure all day long. I think that our defense definitely played very inspired. As time goes on in a game like that, you get tight if you're running out of possessions, right? So you start thinking that every possession is going to count even more and even more, because Army was pretty much dominating the line of scrimmage. And you get tight because you're thinking about, I have to make this one count. When you get tight like that, you may throw it a little over, you may throw it a little to the side, you may throw it under. So, there was pressure all the way around. And I think the game moved really, really quickly for the Air Force team. And as time went on, they felt the pressure of, we we may only have 4 series left. We may only have 3 series left. And they start feeling like they're running out of time. And that tightens people up. So I think the urgency on their part played against them.
Okay. Certainly, as Jack said, Bryson Daly ran the ball 36 times. I brought that up to offensive coordinator Drew Thatcher, who was kind of surprised that it was that many times. But that was about 70% of Army's plays rushing the ball. And it seemed to me they simplified the offense for the game, trying to avoid turnovers, and succeeded. Is that what you saw? Kind of a simplified approach. They only threw the ball 9 times. Steve, was that a simplified approach to the offense?
I mean, I think it was. I think we definitely went to the quarterback running the ball. I mean, this was not dissimilar to what we were running last year or the year before, just not under center, right? So we had a lot of quarterback keepers. We weren't handing it off to the fullback as much. Our freshman running back had some decent runs, but Daly looked like a man on a mission. He decided he was going to take this team and put it on his shoulders, and it was a true mark of a leader for sure. And this is one of the most inspiring leadership approaches I've ever seen in terms of a quarterback just taking a team on his shoulder and saying, "Hey, follow me." And he's a load to handle. And our offensive line just did a great job sticking on the block. So I think we were really in good shape with that. So you get into your game plan, and our game plan I think was a little bit broader at the beginning, but we saw the flow of the game. We saw how Daly was playing, and it narrowed down a little bit. And until they really stopped us, we were going to go with that. And it seemed safer and it seemed better. And the second half results were similar to what they were last year. We didn't score any points. We didn't run, but we ground enough clock, and our defense had enough left in the tank that we were able to make this thing happen. So, you go with what you think you're gonna have the best success with. They did, and they were successful for sure.
Yeah, looking at defense, certainly generating fumbles, getting the interceptions. Leo Lowen created the first fumble on the Air Force quarterback, Zach Larrier, that set up the second Army touchdown of the quarter, Bryson Daly's 5-yard TD. And then Brett Jorena forced a fumble, recovered by Jimmy Charlo, that set up Quinn Moretsky's second field goal. And then a Bo Nicholas Paul interception set up Quinn Moretsky field goal, 38 yards at the end of the first half. And, I saw, Quinn Hammonds had a sack in the second half. That was key. Jimmy Charlo and got a stop on the quarterback. And another fumble recovery forced by Leo Lowen and recovered by Jack Latour. And then Bo Nicholas Paul interception. And Andre Miller has a fumble recovery at the very end of the game. So all good. Do we have Richard Miller calling in?
Yes, Ken. I'm calling in.
Okay, very resourceful to get in on it. 23-3 Army win. What was your thought about the game?
My real thought about the game was definitely a very dominating and a huge win for Army. Dominating, I think, I would say definitely not only I think just a dominating one, but looking at right now the box score from the game that happened. Army really relied, I think, on Bryson Daly. His 2 touchdowns in the game were definitely, and also the 62-yard run in the game, and Army even jumping out early on to that 17-0 lead really set a tone for the rest of the game, and that's only holding Air Force to a field goal in the second half. It's really a big win for them, and what has been very much very much likely at times a lackluster of a season.
Okay, Richard, that's good. It's just I don't know if it was Army getting off to a fast start in the game. The offensive line creating holes for Bryson Daly. But see, when you see a team that's a 17-point underdog play that well in the first half, what's your thought about how they're able to do that?
Well, I saw the line go as high as 18.5. And there wasn't a heck of a lot of faith that Army was going to be where it was. But there were some glaring statistics that were out there and things to look at in terms of Air Force opponents this year, where I think we're in the 123rd in the nation in terms of strength of schedule, versus Army was in the 30s. So we played some very, very difficult opponents this year, and steel sharpens steel, right? So we're playing against harder opponents. So I mean, I think we learned with that. We look back into back in, I think it was 16 or 17 when we beat them 21-0 here in Colorado.
Remember that well.
So there is precedence for us to go out there and play. And what we needed was, we needed a break. We needed an opportunity. We needed an early score, which happened first series with Bryson breaking that long run. That gave us a little bit of confidence, and then we backed that right up with a turnover. And then we started. Once you get belief, there's a lot of power that comes along with the belief, and the more that you believe and they start questioning, you become more and more powerful. You become difficult to handle. There's the difference between being a good team and a great team. It's that much, and it's attitude. And our attitude was, oh man, here we go again, versus, oh man, look at this, look what we can do. And I think those events early on really provided a boost and a spark for us to fulfill our potential. Whereas in the past, we in this year we may have gotten down and said, "Oh man, here we go again," type of thing. So I loved what was going on with this. I'm still a little concerned with the way we play in the second half. We didn't score in the second half this year. We didn't score in the second half last year. If we go all the way back to 2016, we've only averaged 5.5 points per half in the second half. 2016 we only had 6. The 17 we got 7. 18 we got 3. 19 only 7. 20 we got 7. 21 we got 14. That was our big one, and then the last 2 we got 0 in the second half. So we're not adjusting. We're playing tight and we're playing conservative, but the defense this year was able to match up to it and hold the line. So that's why we had such a lopsided score. So, we played a great game, but we still didn't show what we can do fulfilling 4 quarters of potential football. And
Yeah.
I'd love to see that against Navy and come home with that Commander-in-Chief trophy.
Yeah, that's going to create a really neat opportunity for Army in December in Foxborough, that if they win the Commander-in-Chief trophy with a win. And Jack, how did Navy do? They struggled at Temple on Saturday.
Yeah, they did. Temple won that game 32-18. Temple quarterback E.J. Warner threw for 402 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game. By the way, the game was at a neutral site. It was actually at the longtime home of the Army-Navy game. That's the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. But Temple dominated the first half. They outscored Navy 17-0. And also, in terms of offensive yards in the first half, Temple had 209, Navy just 63. Ultimately, Navy had 268 yards total offense in the game. But Navy finally scored on a 24-yard touchdown pass from Xavier Arline to Eli Heidenreich in the third quarter, and they got the 2-point conversion there. Ultimately, Xavier Arline finished the day with 97 yards rushing on 30 carries, and was 6 for 14 in pass completions for 124 yards and 1 touchdown there. And Eli Heidenreich led Navy in receiving with 2 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown. And Navy is going to be hosting University of Alabama Birmingham on Saturday. So Navy kind of struggling. 2 back-to-back losses. The other one was they were just dominated by Air Force in that Air Force Navy game, and now this loss to Temple. So not looking good for Navy. And maybe I'm jumping the gun, but that Army's chances in the Army-Navy game look pretty good right now.
Yeah, but we think back to years like 2021 at the Meadowlands, where we thought Army was the stronger team going in, and Navy pulled off a victory. 2019 also. But Steve, the thing that strikes me is in our early years of covering Army football, from about 2008 till about 2015, Air Force dominated Army. It wasn't even close. And now Army has won a bunch of these games and pulled one off, that huge upset in Colorado. How different is it, as a former Army football player, to see Army being able to play well against Air Force?
And I'm bummed that Sam's not on here to talk about this.
Yeah,
sure,
I know. We have our friend Sam Houston couldn't make it. We're going to try to give Sam a solo later in the week, and for him to it's like I don't know how to describe a great day of the year when Army beats Air Force.
Right. Yeah. Air Force. I'm going to be a little politically incorrect here, and I'm going to say the things that are truly in my heart, because that's what you pay me to do. When Navy plays, I watch them on TV if I don't have a game for Army, and I actually root for them. I don't necessarily 51 weeks out of the year. I don't have a problem with Navy. I like Coach N. He was awesome. I've met him and talked with him at length on a number of occasions. I think he's a class man and class act. And 1 week out of the year I don't like it very well. Don't like Navy very much, but the rest of the time I can tolerate it. I am 52 weeks out of the year disliking Air Force. I'm just the bottom line, and I love the fact that we're able to go toe and toe with them because they've had great coaches and they've had great programs, and they do things there. I don't know if it shocked any of you to watch their players after the game with beards and mustaches. Now, how the heck does that happen?
Oh, really?
Go back and watch the videos of post-game press conferences.
I was there. I have to check that.
Their juniors and seniors have apartments off posts. They don't even stay in their rooms half the time.
Really?
It's really not. It's a college that they get paid for, and they got to give a little bit of time in a country club type military, but it is not a service academy in my eyes. And they strut around as if they are the cat's meow, and it annoys me. It really does. And I'm happy. I'm very happy when we have a full year of victory against that team. So, and I'm glad that Coach Munkin, in terms of focus, that we broke the streak with Navy, but we have actually, we've got like 5 out of the last 7 with Air Force, and that makes me extremely happy. And I think if you talk to Navy, they would tell you the same thing. And I think if you talk to my brethren who play football with me here at Army, they're right there with you. So, I appreciate that they serve. They do cool stuff. But no, I don't like them.
Okay.
And Jack,
I got to answer, but
Jack, I don't want to correct you, but Lincoln Financial Field is Temple's home field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're trying to build a new stadium in Philly, and I don't think they've gotten the money together yet to do that. But I always go back, and maybe you were there at the Pentagon when Army was at the press, did a pep rally after their visit to the White House in 2018. And Joe Milley gets up and he says all the rah-rah stuff like you and Sam would say. And then he says, guys, a year from now, you very well may be deployed anywhere in the world in a tough spot. And you can be damn glad those Navy and Air Force pilots are flying over your heads.
Yeah. But here's a story. Here's a story I'll share inside football with you. A few years back, we were playing in Colorado Springs, and they had one of their snowstorms, as they tend to do in November. And they had it, the snow came down the night before the ball game, and they shoveled the entire stadium except for the area where Army was going to sit. And they left the snow there for them.
Oh gosh.
And Coach Munkin's mom, who's up there in age, had to walk through the snow and sit through the snow along with other people that probably didn't need to be doing that. And they left it unshoveled for Army fans in their section. And that's the Air Force in a nutshell.
Okay. I'm trying to remember. I was which game that was. That wasn't the 21-0 win. It was probably the year before when Air Force won.
Yeah, it was in 19.
Pretty cold out. Okay. And we will have to give Sam a special opportunity to describe the thrill of the victory by Army over the Air Force Academy. Well, Richard Miller, why don't you take us through some of the highlights of college football last week?
Okay, some of the highlights of college football last week. As we get up to we get up to week 10 on here, like the top 25 games. Let's see. You have Notre Dame losing to Clemson 31-23. Number 7 Texas defeated Kansas State in overtime 33-30. You also have number 1 the Ohio State Buckeyes 35-16 over Rutgers. Number 10 Ole Miss 38-35 over Texas A&M. The Tennessee Volunteers 59-3 over UConn. Number 18 Utah defeated Arizona State 55-3. Number 4 Florida State all over Pittsburgh 24-7. And also you have number 2 Georgia defeating number 12 Missouri 30-21. Number 22 Oklahoma State over Oklahoma 27-24. Tulane 13-10 over East Carolina. Tulane Dayton won on the season. Number 11 Penn State 51-15 over Maryland. Number 13 Louisville 34-3 over Virginia Tech. Number 6 Oregon 63-19 over California. Number 3 Michigan 41-13 over Purdue. And also you've got number 8 Alabama defeating LSU 42-28. Number 14 LSU. Number 5 Washington 52-42 over number 20 USC. And by the way, if I also make mention of this, I think the college football playoff rankings came out, and let's see if I have them. It's going to be Ohio State number 1, Georgia's number 2, Florida State's number 3, and actually Ohio State's number 1, Georgia's number 2. Despite all the controversy that's going on, Michigan is number 3. Florida State is number 4. The first 2 out are number 5 Washington and number 6 Oregon.
So the only kind of new name in that batch is Florida State, having a strong season. And Steve, is the expansion of the NCAA playoffs next year to 8 or 12?
I believe it goes to 12 next year.
Yeah, because that'll give a chance for more teams to get in the mix, because there will be upsets, and so you may see some new teams getting in that, having that opportunity, and we'll see with Army going into the American Conference. Tulane seems to be the class of the conference that's coming back, with SMU leaving. And Charlotte over Tulsa this past week. Memphis 59-50 over South Florida. Nobody playing much defense there. Let's take a look a little bit at Army's opponent, Holy Cross. They are having a strong season. Coach Munkin talked about them today in his press conference, and they are 6-3, 4-1 on the season. One of Jack's favorite teams, by the way. Why are they your favorite team? Who went there?
My dad.
Your dad went there. Okay.
Yeah.
We used to think of them more as a basketball rival when I was at Providence. But they have wins over Merrimack, at Yale, Colgate 42-7. Lost to Harvard by 10. They beat Bucknell 55-27. Lost to Lafayette 38-35, won at Fordham 49-47. So they are scoring a lot of points, but giving up a fair number of points. Quarterback is Matthew Slutka. 9 games, 168 quarterback rating, 61% completion percentage, thrown for 1,449 yards, 17 touchdowns, runs 987, nearly 1,000 yards, 7 TDs. And good running back named Jordan Fuller. He's got 1,040 yards and averaging 6.8 yards a carry. And they got a big linebacker named Jacob Dubbs, 5th year, 111 tackles, 5 sacks. So for a football championship division team, they're near the top. I think they made the quarterfinals last year in the FCS. And what Coach Munkin said is they looked really good in their loss at Boston College, 31-28. And that being one of the games they scouted very closely. So, Steve, anything stick out to you about Holy Cross?
Yeah, I mean, this has the makings of a trap game written all over it. And we have got to. I mean, Coastal Carolina is coming up on the horizon. That could be a statement win for us. We're building momentum towards Navy. And we just got off of Air Force. If we do not take this week seriously, we could end up with a similar showing that we had against Georgia Southern a few years back. where we came out flat. We came out, put the ball on the turf, and coach actually brought the team together and on the field, had a butt chewing session right there on the field, and they started playing a little bit better. So we have got to get our heads on straight for this game, because this is a quality opponent who's going to come out, and this is their Super Bowl. And, we just had a nationally televised game that we won and did some great stuff and got a lot of press, and they can stick it to us, and they'll have a crowd in the stands because they travel well and they're not too far away from us. And if we are not careful, we could have a big letdown this week. So we've got to get fired up.
How do you think the defense is ready for a team that scores 40 points a game? That's going to be a challenge.
I mean, Air Force scored a ton of points too this year. So, can we transfer what we did, stay lane discipline on our rush, making sure that we're doing the right things, and just playing inspired ball. I mean, can Lowen step up the way he did this past game and have 2 games in a row where he played out of his mind? I mean, all these things. We've got to create turnovers, got to take advantage of sudden change situations, and we've got to, dominate them up front. They're not going to be as big as Air Force. They're not as big as other teams that we played. But again, this is going to be their version of us playing Air Force, right? They're going to come out with nothing to lose, reckless abandon on the road. And this is something that will be a legend in their minds for years to come if they beat Army. So we have got to come out with the right mindset.
Okay. And just looking at some other big games, Michigan, Penn State, 12 noon kick will be an interesting one. Thursday, Virginia is playing Louisville. Got Alabama, Kentucky this week. And what did you think of Colorado's game against Oregon State last week? Oregon State won by a touchdown. And there was a lot of excitement up in Boulder when we were up there last Friday about the game, and a big crowd. I met people going to the game at the airport. Were you surprised that Oregon State was able to pull off a win?
I was more surprised at how tight that game was. I mean, Oregon State has a quality program. Not that Colorado doesn't, for sure, but as we've seen here recently, Colorado has come down to earth. I knew a bunch of people that were out there with us had gone to the Colorado game just for the excitement and feeling the intensity and the buzz that was all about it. And they said it lived up to all of that expectation and hype. So when there's a lot of electric things going on up there, I think they're way ahead of schedule in terms of where they need to be, or where I thought that they would be after this first year. So there's some great things going on, and I think we're going to see a lot more of them. And I don't think this is Coach Prime's final spot. I really don't. He'll end up in like the SEC, or he'll end up in the Big Ten somewhere. I truly believe that he will, because he can recruit. And I mean, if you got that guy coming into your living room, he's an inspiring guy who did it before, and he's going to tell it to you straight, and players relate to him, and boosters relate to him, and money follows him around. College Game Day follows him around. All of that buzz and everything else, it's going to be somewhere. He's not going to end up in Colorado very long. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, he came out to the Army practice on Friday when Army had the opportunity to practice in their indoor facility. And so what else stands out to you this upcoming week, Richard? And you got a couple of big games. I mentioned Penn State's got Michigan.
Yes,
two teams in the top 10.
That one to me is going to be really important to see how Michigan responds, and I'm going to also be paying attention to the rest of Michigan's games, because I think, have you guys also And you guys also touched on the Michigan science scandal.
Yeah, Steve, have you heard it followed that much? I really haven't had a chance. That there was allegations at Michigan of sending scouts to upcoming opponents' games, and I guess trying to film how they sent signals into the game, like activity like that. Did you have any feel for what happened in that situation at Michigan?
You know, there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of timing, and there's a lot of things that go on, and there was a lot of conjecture that today would be something would come down where Coach Harbaugh would get a two game suspension, because that would get those 2 games in prior to the Ohio State Michigan game. And I think it's a double-edged sword, because I think a lot of coaches will try to cheat or try to steal signals, and it's kind of been a hush-hush thing all along. And a lot of teams could go, I mean, college football they have enough money to go to put microphones in the helmet, so they wouldn't even have to do signals anymore. But there are certain schools that are against it because they have been getting an advantage in terms of stealing. Right now, Michigan's at the top of their game, so the ones that are at the top are the ones that you're trying to break down the most. But I mean, I don't like the fact that it's been the way that it's come out. I'm not surprised that Connor Stallion, who's the guy behind all the glasses and the espionage, is a Naval Academy guy. So, that is an interesting twist on this whole thing. But we got to kind of let it play out. I think I don't think Harbaugh is going to be at Michigan next year anyway. I think he'll be in the NFL. I think he'll be probably in Chicago or another team. So this will go by the wayside. It's just a matter of whether or not they want to step up and try to discipline him this year. I think there's too much money to be made in the Ohio State Michigan game for them to suspend him for that game. So they would have to do that probably today or tomorrow, or let it go until the end of the year. And I don't think he'll be there after that fact. So, let's let the rest of this play out. But I don't think it's all of what they made it out to be. Then people, if they wouldn't hold up the signs and they wouldn't hold up those banners behind it so you couldn't see the signs, they wouldn't do all that if there hasn't been sign stealing going on all
along. Well, some call it gamesmanship, but it seems like there is a line that Michigan may have crossed that goes beyond any element of sportsmanship, and
no doubt,
and being part of what college football is supposed to be, ultimately an educational activity. Okay, well, let's finish up with our some predictions. I think we're going to have to add some extra touchdowns to the scores this week, given Holy Cross's propensity to score a lot of points and the challenge they will face with the Army defense. Okay, Richard, what's your prediction for this week of Army and Holy Cross?
Army, Holy Cross, very close game. 38-35, Army was the late field goal in overtime.
Okay, in overtime. So you think it's going to keep everybody on the edge of their seats at Mikey Stadium?
Oh,
okay,
definitely.
Okay, and Jack, what do you think on your dad's alma mater versus Army?
Yeah, I think this could be a high-scoring game. If you look at the recent games of Army and Fordham, they're always these high-scoring back-and-forth games with those two schools. I think we could see that happen this weekend with Holy Cross. But if Army plays like they played against Air Force this past weekend, Army should win the game. I'm going to say 42-31 Army. Also, another big game this weekend. It's Syracuse versus Pittsburgh. That game at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I wish I could go to that, but it's opposite. It's a 100th anniversary of college football at Yankee Stadium.
Mhm.
And so they create a nice matchup for that commemoration. They'll have a good crowd at that one. So, Steve, what's your thought on Army and Holy Cross on a score?
I think it's going to be 28-27 Army.
1-point win.
It's going to be tight. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a tight game.
Okay, very good. I think we're looking at a high-scoring Holy Cross offense. Army could decide to open up a little bit versus the offense they showed at Air Force. Could be trying to get back to passing. A lot of it depends on if Isaiah Alston is available to play. He hasn't been able to play in about a month. And that makes a big difference on Army's passing game. But we could see Kanye Udo have a big game. The freshman, the talented freshman running back. I think you're going to see a little bit less running from Bryson Daly. I think they want to keep him healthy for Coastal and Navy. So I don't think you're going to see him run it 36 times on Saturday. You may try to see him get the ball to Kanye Udo or one of the other running backs. But I would say on this one, I think Army will pull off a win in front of the home crowd. But I'll go. I think we're going to get at least one Brett Morensky field goal out of the day, and I'll go 31-24. Army over Holy Cross. So we have 4 predictions and should be fun. And it should be a good game. Go out to Mikey Stadium. It's beautiful. Hopefully we get a sunny day on Saturday. And so it should be good. And I want to mention, Jack mentioned the New York Yankees. They're one of our sponsors. We appreciate them so much. And they have a big game on Saturday that they're hosting at Yankee Stadium, Pittsburgh and Syracuse. Should be a good one. We always want to mention our friends at the Special Operations Warrior Foundation who take care of families, children of fallen special operation members, providing scholarships and mentoring. And I'd just like to take a second to thank everyone for their support over the past 2.5 weeks since my wife's accident and subsequent passing. Tremendous support by everybody at West Point, from the superintendent on down. Coach Munkin visited in the hospital. Clayton Kenner Combs came over a couple of times. Eric, the SID, and so many calls and messages from people associated with the Army football program. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that support during an extraordinarily difficult time. And being able to go out to Denver was a big thing, very therapeutic. And the team invited me to cover their Friday practice, which is almost unheard of in college football. And I appreciated that so much. So anyway, Jack, we're hoping we're going to see a Jack McGuirk sighting at Mikey Stadium on Saturday. Hoping we'll get you up there. And we lost Jack, and Richard Miller will be watching from Florida, and Steve will be set up with his tailgate that I will look forward to stopping by. So,
Absolutely.
Steve, thank you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jack McGuirk.
Thank you.
And we will see you next week and see you at Mikey Stadium on Saturday for Army and Holy Cross. Should be fun. Have a good one. Take care. And this is Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVets Media. We cover cadets, midship, and the military and veterans proudly since 2008. Thanks for watching.